Today, we are talking about everything you need to know to double the power of your 12-valve Cummins. In fact, we did a video on this like 7 years ago. We got with the Diesel Tech magazine. Yeah, I think
So let's see how much power a stock 96 180 horsepower truck made 7 years ago
oh,
on our Mustang chassis dyno.
it's going to be brutal. Let's go. Roll the video. We decided to install one of our complete fuel packages. For this
it's baby
particular
Todd.
build, we're going to use our 400 horsepower fuel package. What that gives you is all the components needed on the fueling side to achieve 400 horsepower. Now, this includes our 055 delivery valves, which are a modest increase, a nice towing delivery valve, governor springs, so you can wrap out the RPM a little bit higher. It includes 7x9 injectors.
Ooh,
what that
holes.
means, when you hear these numbers, there are 7 holes in the injector tip, and each hole is 9,000th of an inch in diameter. So if you see injectors 5x12, 7x9, 6x13, that's what those mean. Also in this truck, we're going to increase injection timing. A lot of people think this is a very difficult, highly technical process. It's not terribly difficult when we supply this degree wheel, and it's actually quite simple to do. Finally, we're going to top it off with our AFC Live. This is going to give him complete control of his fuel.
Oh my
He can
gosh.
turn the fuel up, turn it down.
the gauge
He'll
is.
be
Is
able to
there a
dial in
gauge
his
there?
EGT for whatever trailer he's towing. With this, he'll have total control over his fuel, make him driving his truck real easy, real fun. I mean, it's really impressive. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done a stock truck, but there's not a lot of parts there, honestly, as far as fuel is concerned. It's pretty simple upgrades.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, look at that AFC Live. That's like the old, I don't think that's our first version, maybe a second version on that one, but the box is bigger. The gauge was huge, a much smaller gauge now, and the bracket.
It looks like we used Velcro back then to hold it on. It
think
doesn't
we
even
did.
have an actual mounting bracket.
Yeah, look at our beautiful display
legit.
bench there. It's the top of an old toolbox.
I think it was a snap-on toolbox, though.
Hey,
You gotta give him
for-
credit.
give
It's an old snap-on toolbox.
So anyway, the 055 delivery valves, I think that's
That's a-
nothing changed. That's solid, and I love those delivery valves even to this day.
Governor springs, same story. Still definitely want to do some governor springs.
And those are quality governor spring. Even today,
Those are the same ones. Yeah,
I wouldn't say there's a better governor spring on the market than those.
Yeah.
So
And then the injectors, though, I kind of saw you smirk a little bit when you saw 7x9s. Will's over here like, we could do a lot better than that now.
So back in the day, the whole point of the 7x9 is you had factory hole size, you had the atomization, but you're getting a couple extra holes, so you get a little better fuel dispersion. But they don't penetrate the cylinders well at high RPM. And this new power jet technology just destroys those old 7-hole.
I mean, 5 holes. Just in my opinion, 5 holes destroy a 7-hole, and then power jets destroy a 5-hole. Like back in before the power driven times, I did some testing with 7x9s versus some 5x13s. Mathematically, they should equate to about the same area. And you can go on Cummins forum and find that review, 5 versus 7-hole injector testing. But no, 7 holes were not for me. And some people really like 7 holes. I think it's the bigger guys like running like a 7x11 or 12. It may not be as bad, but those smaller sets, I did not enjoy them.
There's a bunch of different spray patterns in 7-hole too. Because
That's
back
true.
then with a 7x9, we weren't changing the hole. We were using a Bosch nozzle those particular ones were a 148 spray pattern. So they were a little cleaner. Some of the other 7 holes that are a Denso out of like a John Deere application, those ones kind of sucked.
Yeah. I mean, I know mine were marketed as 148s or whatever. I remember it was just a smidge off of what I wanted it to be, 145. But knowing what I know now, what they were marketed as may have not been what they were actually. That is a possibility.
Did you buy those from Power Driven?
I did not.
Okay. So the company you bought them from shall remain nameless.
They definitely will, yes. But
And-
either way, they did not.
Another thing we've definitely
Did
learned.
they give your diesel a lot of power?
I mean, they definitely flowed more fuel, but I did. So I had those injectors in it, and I had a HY35. I was trying to go for as best spool up, best torque. Hence, I wanted to try the 7 holes. And I remember driving my brother's truck, which was ultimately the same, except it was bone stock without a plate. And I drove it to town, and I was like, I ruined my truck. This drives so much better. Like, what have I done? And that's when I like kind of started reverting back to stock, and I put those 5x13s in. And I was like, oh wow, like I just got 90% of the gains back.
I do wonder if you got a pretty cheap injector, if those nozzles were manufactured by kind of a low quality stuff. I mean, we've seen that here. Like we've seen, some stuff come through and you get it under a microscope. It looks pretty rough.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get a set of 7x9s, and maybe some of them are 7x8s, and some are 7x10s. Like, I mean, that's
All
not
over the
even that bad in today's
Yeah,
like what we've seen.
yeah, but these injectors, I remember driving this truck and they were definitely way better than a stock injector truck. So I'd say maybe you got a bad badge.
I definitely could have. And I had HY there, and I was like going for torque, and they did not make the torque that they were supposed to.
Which is interesting because the reason we like the 7 holes is they seem to like spool better.
Yeah, they kind of.
Mine were
got
definitely
stuff going.
hazier. Like 5x13s cleaned up the haze everywhere. Now, if you didn't care about smoke, maybe you could have gotten them cleaned up to spool faster or whatever. But when I was using smoke as my guideline, like I didn't want smoke and I wanted to spool, the 5-hole 5x13s that I tested, those ones that I tested did like considerably better.
Interesting. I will say in this video, our goal with this video was just to show you like the bare minimum things needed to achieve the doubling your power. Like looking at this stuff now, I'm like, well, I'd do a rack plug. I definitely,
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
things.
And like I say, like the injectors I tested were not these injectors, so I can't speak for those ones right there. But yeah, in my experience, 7 holes aren't necessarily the play.
I noticed on the AFC Live, I didn't see the Max Travel kit in there. I think we might have put one in there, but I don't think we had the power-driven AFC foot back then that you could to make it easy. And so we were grinding and cutting and doing all kinds of stuff to get fuel. If we even, I don't really remember. I think
I'm sure that's what we did. I'm sure we ground it flat, but yeah, now with our new foot, that's so much easier. And so anyway, yeah, the fueling is pretty simple on this build. There's a few more things you could do, but for the power,
for double your horsepower, like that's it.
Yeah, when you start as low as this guy starts, it's not hard to do. So anyway, let's keep going from it. See what else pops up here. It's a good idea to support those with some other modifications. First and foremost is we're going to put some gauges in. We want to be able to monitor our EGT.
Classic.
We want to know how much boost we're making. So those are coming in right away. We have a good set of IS Pro gauges. Also, we're going to want to upgrade our clutch. The stock clutch is not going to handle this power for a very long time. So we're going to put in a South Bend clutch rated for about 425 horsepower. Yeah. Also, we're going to run a full MBRP 4-inch exhaust.
Beautiful stainless
It'll make this thing breathe real good. With all these modifications, we expect the power to go up dramatically. Well, that's ISPRO. I haven't seen ISPRO for a long time. I mean, I had those gauges in my truck years ago, but we kind of we're not happy with the ISPROs. They're a very quality unit. I've never had any fail on me.
It's just kind of, I don't know how best to describe it. It's like getting an old piece of machinery from World War II. Like it works and does its job, but no frills, kind of slow, kind of clunky, kind of heavy.
Loud. I remember listening to those things.
Yeah. And so like one of the reasons we placed them is the EGT max is at 1600 and I wanted more than that. The boost gauge didn't go very high and I wanted higher boost ranges. So we just ended up making our own gauges, since then. And obviously we'd put those in now, but
installing our gauges is a little easier the way that the wire kind of daisy chains and stuff. There's just nothing wrong with the Isopro. They're just they haven't really been updated. They're just kind of what they are.
That MBRP exhaust looked freaking good. That was a stainless. I remember that was a stainless unit.
I don't even know if you can buy stainless exhaust anymore from MBRP. I mean, I think you can get 409, but that looked like 304. That was beautiful exhaust. But maybe you still can. MBRP
What's
still
interesting is we didn't put an intake on this truck. Like I know we left a stock turbo because we wanted to show that, but I guess I wanted to show like you don't even need to upgrade your air filter for this. I mean, we're not making a lot of power with this truck. Even double is not a lot of power.
But we've learned you will more quickly destroy your turbo without an intake. You start pushing it hard and it will
overspeed it and we probably gave up some power. Like, we hit the number, but we probably would have hit more with a simple air intake. Yeah. So anyway, just kind of funny the stuff you do years ago, but I mean, we just wanted to do the bare minimum and it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
So I think after this, they just go through a big install section of the video. I don't think we need to watch that. It's a podcast. They can't watch it anyway. So let's kind of skip forward to where the install's done and we're about to put this in the dyno.
I think we're going to go right to the results of the dyno.
Oh, so do we have the original dyno run before
this one right here?
Okay, so
because we put gauges on so we could see what the max EGT and stuff was.
So we did the dyno run, just the gauges, then which would not affect performance. Okay,
just so that we could see that it hit 1200 degrees and hit about 19 pounds of boost.
A California manual trans? Is that why it's 180?
I thought this was a 96.
95.
It's a 95? Oh, it's a 160.
160 pump.
Okay. Shoot. I thought it was a 96.
Power to make
146.8, 383.7.
Okay, so this truck makes 146 horsepower and 380 foot-pounds of torque to the tire without any correction at all. Wow. I had no idea. I mean, it's been such a long time since I've been in a stock truck.
I told you I wasn't gonna make it.
Oh, this is a gutless, man. They are known for being slow stock. And it was. That dyno run took forever. I'm like, you get used to the trucks we drive with now, like they rip through the window. I could have had my lunch while I was doing that run. I mean, it took forever to get through that window.
So it's a manual. It's a 175 horse factory truck. So 146. I mean,
To the
it's
tire.
actually not really that bad of power.
Yeah. And 383 foot-pounds. Is that what I heard I say? Like 380 foot-pounds of torque. So yeah, to get a 12 valve to, right around 300, a little less than, I mean, what's that? 296, 292, something like that. What was it? 146?
146. You need
So
292 to
292.
double it.
Yeah.
So about 300 to double.
So we got a 400 horsepower fuel package in this, as it said, which, I know we didn't get to 400 horsepower because we didn't change the turbo, but there will be extra fuel in this truck. If we did upgrade the intake, we would have made more power. There's enough fuel there now for more than we're going to make with this truck. But now that the install is done, we kind of went through a little install montage, all the parts are put in the truck. I think now we're going to put it back on the dyno in this video and see what the power difference was.
Do that turbo spool a little better, a little more whistle there.
Before we had boost and EGT
I know,
on the
I'm
dyno itself.
I'm like, where's the data? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I was trying to look for it. I was like, where'd it go?
There we go. 300.
crazy.
All right, so we got it. We just cracked 300 horsepower, 300.3 exactly, with torque
Torque went
890.2.
crazy.
So
890.
huge
Yeah.
torque. Again, we're limited by the turbo on this thing. If we went hardcore with our tuning, we could probably get another 20 or 30 horsepower with this turbo. But doing that kind of hurts the street friendliness, the good towing characteristics. So for this truck, good towing, 300 horsepower to the ground. We've doubled the power, runs good. It's gonna be a real fun truck. Man, that just shows you what Dodge did to neuter those things. Like we picked up 600 foot-pounds of torque to the ground. I mean, just think about that. The truck's still only 300 horsepower, and we're almost 900 foot-pounds of torque to the ground.
Well, it's not like they had a transmission or a clutch that could hold it.
Yeah, like I remember later in this video, we kind of go over like the stock run versus the modified run. You can really see how the calibration holds the fuel back a lot until it was so bad. So it's just like, golly, there's so much potential in that engine, which is why it's such a popular platform, because it's not hard to get a bunch of power out
I mean,
of it.
back then there was nothing you could buy that, with an hour under the hood, you could
Yeah.
add hundreds of foot-pounds of torque and horsepower to it,
Yeah, I remember taking that guy for a drive, and even at this point in our business, we were pretty accustomed to more power. I mean, before we even started power driven, we were accustomed to more power. And I get in the truck, and I'm like, the ride's pretty good. And he gets in there, he's like mind blown. He's like flipping out. He's like, I cannot believe this thing. He's like, he's just dying. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, look at the graphs. I mean, like
Yeah.
that is you'll notice that for sure.
Yeah, massive changing graphs. So I don't, some people can watch this, some people are hearing, but I'm looking at the dyno graph right now. And there's an upper red line and an upper green line. The upper red line is the torque of the stock unit, and the upper green line is the torque of the modified unit, right?
The upper red line is stock. Yes.
And you can really see how the calibration neutered the torque. They held the fuel.
Kind of
up.
like an S-shaped curve with a little bit inverse, and the
Trying to
other
keep
one's
the
like a
torque out of it.
parabola. It's
Yep.
like a little rainbow curve,
Yeah, in this video we go over how the reason that was so bad is the stock AFC spring was so stiff. It needed a lot of boost to overcome to actually let the fuel come in. And so I think that helps the engine be at a higher RPM level, so it gets rid of that high torque. And you can see if they had just changed the spring, it would have made a higher torque number, because they didn't bring the fuel until it's past peak torque.